Me and this guy was involved in a car accident the other day and it was pretty bad. Like both of our cars were completely totaled, but it was amazing that neither one of us got hurt. But anyways, I was crawling out of my car and I seen him crawling out of his car. So I walked over to him and I was trying to flirt a little bit. I said, "So you're a man and I'm a woman. That's interesting." He was just smiling and then he said, "Yes, that's pretty interesting." Then I told him that us being in a car wreck must be a sign from God. Like we should be really close friends from now on. He just started blushing out of nowhere. Then he said, "Oh yes, I completely agree." I started walking towards my car and then I pulled out a bottle of wine that didn't break. I started handing him the bottle of wine and then I said, "Oh look, this is another miracle. My car is completely demolished, but for some reason this bottle didn't break." Then I said, "God must want us to drink this wine and celebrate our fortune." So he took the bottle and started drinking half of the wine. Then he looked at me and said he's so glad that this happened, even though we met under those circumstances. He then hands the bottle of wine back to me. So I just took the bottle and I immediately put the cork back in. And then I handed the bottle back to him. He looked at me and asked me, did I want to drink any? I just smiled at him and then I said, "No, I think I'll just wait for the police." I used to work as a student nurse at a hospital. I had this patient who had to stay overnight because he had a severe asthma attack. He had to wear an oxygen mask over his mouth and nose. My job was to give him a sponge bath, so I did. While I was giving him a sponge bath, he mumbled something from behind his mask. He said, "Nurse, are my testicles black?" I was a little bit embarrassed because I didn't know how to answer that question, and I was only there to wash his upper body and feet. So I just ignored the question and I continued to wash him. Like 10 minutes later, he struggled to ask me again. He said, "Nurse, please check for me. Are my testicles black?" I was concerned that he might elevate his blood pressure and his heart rate by worrying about his testicles. So I just gently raised his gown. I was holding his manhood in one hand and his testicles in my other hand. I looked very close at his private area, and then I said, "There is nothing wrong with them, sir. They look fine." He then slowly starts to pull off his oxygen mask. He said, "Thank you so much. That was wonderful, but listen very, very close." He looked up at me, and then he started talking very slowly. He said, "Are my test results back?" So my brother just recently called me and he asked me could I take him to work. I told him sure, why not? But I was a little bit confused because he always took the bus to work. So when I picked him up, I asked him why didn't he take the bus like he always do. He told me he just recently had a bad experience riding the bus. I said, "Go on, I'm listening." He said yesterday when he got on the bus, he saw a beautiful woman, but she was a nun. She was sitting in a seat right across from him. He said she was so beautiful that he didn't want to pass up the opportunity to meet her. So he approached her and asked her if she wanted to make love to him. The nun told him no. She said she is a child of God and she does not want to make love to him. And she got off at the next bus stop. The bus driver overheard the conversation. He was going to help my brother hook up with the nun. The bus driver told my brother that every Sunday at 9 p.m., the nun stops at a cemetery and she makes love to the priest. So he told my brother to go to the cemetery on Sunday night and dress up as a priest and the nun would make love to him. My brother ended up doing what the bus driver told him to do. He went to the cemetery at 9 p.m. and dressed up as a priest. When he sees her standing in the dark, he approaches her, and he told the nun to make love to him because he is a child of God. The nun said, "Okay, but I only like it from behind." So the nun turned around and they made love. After they made love, my brother took off his priest costume. He started laughing in her face. He said, "I'm the man that you rejected on the bus." Then the nun takes off her clothes and says, "Gotcha, I'm the bus driver." Me and my husband was in our backyard setting up tables for our family barbecue. That's when he looked at me and he tried to crack a joke. He said, "Your butt is getting really big. I bet your butt is bigger than our barbecue grill." Then he started laughing, but I didn't find nothing funny. But anyways, he went to go get a measuring tape to measure the grill, and then he walked back to where I was and measured my bottom. Then he said, "Wow, your butt is really 2 inches wider than the barbecue grill." I chose to ignore him because, like I said, I didn't find anything funny, and he was probably finna get slapped in his face. But anyways, later on that night, we got into bed and he started cuddling up with me. Not too long after that, he started kissing me on my neck. I guess he wanted to make love, but I started to push him off of me. He then asked me what was wrong, but I just ignored him. That's when he turned on the lamp that's sitting on our nightstand. He said, no, really, just look at me and tell me what's wrong. So I turned over and I looked him dead in his face. That's when I said, do you really think I'm going to fire up this big grill for one little weenie?